Hello, this is Pam. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and today I'm going to share with you how to make this Ohio Star quilt pattern with paper. This is the Ohio Star quilt pattern that you would see in quilts. I have made some myself when I used to sew, and this is my favorite pattern for the quilt. So I wanted to make a paper one. And this is the colors that I'm going to make the one for you today. I do have another one that I made in different colors. I did emboss this one. It uses the Fancy Fan embossing folder. It's retired. I'm not quite sure that I like that, but it does give a quilted look to it. And this one is also embossed, and I used the mosaic folder on that one. The one that I'm going to make today, I'm going to leave it plain so you can see what it looks like both ways, embossed or not. This uses the Lost Lagoon cardstock, and then the designer paper is from the Olive Bloom paper stack. This is the paper there. It's in the small DSP stacks. We're going to use this pattern. And on this one, when I punched them out, I wanted to get a little bit of all the colors. But I think that this Island Indigo larger pattern kind of takes away from the Ohio Star a little bit. So the pieces that I've punched out have a little bit. It doesn't have that whole piece like that. I think that might look a little bit better. So you really don't need a whole lot of pieces to get started with this. You always want to use a light and a dark. That gives a good contrast for your quilt patterns. So with the light pieces you only need 4, and I'm using the 1-inch square punch. So punch out 4 of those, and then for your darker contrasting color you need 5, because 1 goes into the center as a solid. So those are all your pieces that you need. And then you need 1 piece of 3-inch by 3-inch cardstock. This one I use white, but if you don't get your pieces cut correctly, you'll see I've got that one overlapped a little bit. You'll see the white border. Now on this one, I did use I matted it onto another piece of Whisper White, and you really won't see that quite as much. Off here is a little another spot I got off. But if you use a coordinating color of backing, it'll kind of hide any imperfections that you do. So what you need to do first is to cut your pieces. Now the solid or the darkest color, you need to leave 1 square uncut. That's for the center. And your next pieces you need to cut. You can either hand cut these or you can put it on your paper trimmer. For the speed of the video, I'm going to cut them by hand. So you want to cut 2 squares into triangles. The quilting world, those are your half square triangles. So you need 2 pieces cut like that. And if you want to do it on your paper trimmer, if you don't think that you can get those cut straight enough, I will show you. I'll only do one because it does take a little bit more time. I'll show you one, and hopefully I can get this in the frame there. So if you want to use your paper trimmer, line up your points to your groove in your trimmer, and slowly put that down, and then cut it. So you get 2. And then you're going to want to cut your triangles in half again. So take your point into your groove, and you can use one of these lines as a straight point, so you get it cut straight. And then cut that. I said you have to kind of be easy with that, because if you let your arm down too fast, it will move. So see, then you get your other little triangles. So you can do it that way if you'd like. or you can just do them by hand. Listen, I'm going to do it by hand today. It's a little bit faster. They may not quite be as straight, but that's alright. So see, one square you cut up into 4. And here's my other ones. 1, 2, 2. I think I'm missing 1. 2. I need 8 of those. Sorry. Oh, here it is. I thought I had another one. Alright. So yes, you still need 5 of the main darkest colors. So cut that in half. And cut these in half. And you're going to do the same with your designer paper. Or if you want to use a solid color cardstock, you can do that too. Just punch them the same way. Cut 2 in half. Point to point. And then the other 2 you want to cut into 4s. So same way, cut them in half. And then cut in half again. I know they may look real tiny. This is a 1-inch square punch that I used. Stampin' Up! Does have the square framelets. So if you want your quilt block to be a little larger, you can definitely use the larger square. The layout is going to be exactly the same. But this size I like because it does fit onto a card front. It makes, like I said, it makes a 3-inch square, just like that. So when I put mine together, I did use the Tombow glue. It does take a little bit longer, so for the speed of the video, I'm going to use my snail. So what you want to do is take your half square triangles here, and you want to start in one corner and work your way over, and then each row you want to do the same. That way that you know, since you are starting on one corner, that they are at least going to line up this way, so if you get off a little bit, it will only be on one side and not all of them. So take your half square triangle and line it up right into the corner. The Tombow glue helps too. You can wiggle it around a little bit. Now I know you're not really going to be able to see that too much until I get some of the designer paper on there, because it is tone on tone. And then take another one of your half square triangles and line it right up to that one. And then next we're going to start this direction. So we need our little dinky square triangles there. So I'll take one and I'll start lining that up. Line it up to this edge, and you are going to get a little bit of gap on the top and the bottom, but that's alright. That's what it's supposed to do, because when you bring this one in, it's going to fill in that little gap there. Same way when you sew, does the same way. Oops. Stuck that one down to the paper. And the snail adhesive is not exactly going to get your paper stuck down all the way. That's why I like to use the liquid glue, because you can get it into the corners of each of the triangles. So I would recommend doing that, but for the speed, I'm just using the snail. Makes it go together a little bit faster. I'll stick that one there. And then the next, we're going to do this corner. So, it's your piece of designer paper, and you want to make sure when you're putting this together that you're putting your pieces in the right direction. Otherwise, your star pattern will be off. So you can just follow along with this and get your triangles in the correct order. So next, again, I'm going to start and go from left to right. This time we're going to turn these. So these go this direction and these go this direction. We'll start on the edge. So grab one of your little tiny triangles and line it up on the edge. And then I'm going to start with that one, so you need another one of your little bitty ones. And you could also use tweezers if your hands are a little nimble. You could use tweezers to put these together. That would work perfect. And next I'm going to do the top, so I'm going to grab another solid. And line that one up. And next with that one. And if you want to fast forward through this part of the video, I'm just going to keep going and putting my quilt block together. It basically, the only difference of this row is that these two go the opposite way of this one. The top row is going to be exactly the same as this one, except your solid pieces are going to go to the outside. So if you want to fast forward it, to get past this part, go right ahead. I'm just going to continue building my star. I actually have curtains hanging in my kitchen. My intention was to make a whole quilt with a bunch of these quilt blocks. I made a whole bunch of different ones. My favorite quilt patterns. So I had a bunch of these quilt blocks, and I never put the quilt together. At the time, I had a king-size bed that was quite large. We are down to a queen. That's still a little bit bigger. But I decided to make curtains with them. So in my kitchen, I have my quilt blocks made into curtains, just at the tops of the windows. So they're pretty. Alright, so next we're going to do the top row, and that's it. It's the same as the bottom here, this piece, but your corners are going to be flipped, so you want your solid piece on the corner at the top there. And get it flipped around the right direction. It's like a puzzle almost to put together, but it's a fun puzzle. Kind of geometry too. You can let your kids help put it together. Alright, so now the next square here, like I said, is going to be the same as this one. So get your little bitty pieces back out and line them up. You can make lots and lots of color variations. So you don't have to use like a tone on tone as sort of I am with the greens. You can most definitely use any color combination, just as long as one is lighter and one is darker. That will give you the best contrast for your quilt block to be seen. So any combination will work. Alright, couple pieces left. And then next is the last one, so we need that designer paper to go the other direction. And the last one. And it goes right there. So there is your Ohio star. And see, if you can see some of the edges, like I said, I did use the snail. I was trying to get it done in a hurry. It hides your mismatched triangles a lot better than that one. But I think it looks good plain or embossed. Either way will work. And you can put it onto a card front so that it fits perfectly. That one I did matte. If I put these on cards, I will probably matte it as well. I will probably use white also because this has white outlines in the Designer Series paper. But you can see that it fits perfectly on there, or the embossed one. So I hope that you like this tutorial on how to make a paper punch art Ohio Star quilt pattern, and maybe I'll be back to make another quilt pattern out of another one of my favorites. You can visit my blog to see more Stampin' Up! Projects. It is wearestampers.blogspot.com. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.